This Father's Day, not everyone is planning a barbecue or shopping for a new necktie. For many of us, this day is not filled with celebration. Instead, it brings a quiet ache, a familiar emptiness, or a memory that gently knocks on the door of our hearts. Maybe your father passed away many years ago, but his voice still lives in your memory. Maybe your husband, the man who once made Father's Day feel like a holiday, is no longer by your side. Or maybe your children live far away now, and the house feels a little too quiet this year. Whatever your story, you are not alone. Today, we are not here to focus on the loss. We are here to remember, to reflect, to feel, and, most of all, to honor the men who shaped our lives, whether through their presence or their absence. In this special episode, I will be reading letters, real, heartfelt messages written by women just like you. Letters to fathers, to husbands, to grandfathers, and even to the men we never really got to know. These words are not perfect, they are not polished, but they are honest, and they are healing. So if your heart is feeling heavy today, stay with me. You might hear a letter that feels like your own, and just maybe by the end, you will feel a little less alone. When I sat down to read these letters, this first one stopped me in my tracks. It comes from a woman named Eleanor, now 73 years old, living in Ohio. Her father passed away over 2 decades ago, but in her heart, he never really left. She told me she never had the chance to say goodbye. And for all these years, she has carried a letter in her mind, a letter she never wrote. Until now. As I read her words, I invite you to listen closely. Maybe they will stir a memory of your own. Maybe they will speak the words you have long wanted to say. Here is Eleanor's letter to her father. Letter 1, to Dad. Dear Dad, it has been 22 years since you left this world, but I still speak to you like you're only in the next room. The years have folded in on themselves like pages in an old book, and though the cover is worn and the ink has faded, the story of you still lives in me, clear as ever. You passed on a Wednesday afternoon. I remember the way the light came through the hospital window, hitting the foot of your bed like a soft goodbye. They say the end is peaceful, but that word never sat right with me. There was nothing peaceful about losing you. There was nothing peaceful about walking out of that hospital room, knowing I'd never hear you say my name again. I remember how your hands looked that day. Those hands that built everything I ever leaned on. They weren't just calloused from work. They carried the story of a man who gave his life in quiet service to his family. Hands that fixed broken faucets, changed oil in my car, packed lunches when Mom was sick, and held mine tightly on the day I left for college, even though your eyes never met mine. You were not a man of many words. And oh, how I used to wish you were. I used to sit across from you at the kitchen table hoping you'd open up. Tell me how you felt. But now, looking back, I realize that your silence was a kind of love. You weren't the type to say, I love you out loud. But I see now, you said it 100 different ways. In the way you rose before sunrise every day without complaint. In the way you stayed up when I got home late, pretending you just couldn't sleep. In the way you always parked your truck facing outward, ready to go. Always ready to be what we needed. I've spent a lot of time wondering what you would have said to me if we'd had one more conversation. Would you have told me you were proud? Would you have shared a story from your boyhood? Would you have asked me to forgive you for the times you lost your temper? I'll never know. And maybe that's okay. Maybe the not knowing is part of the legacy you left, a reminder that love isn't always spelled out in words. Sometimes it's tucked into silence, into small acts, into presence. I often think about your own father, the grandfather I never met. You once said he was a hard man, distant, closed off. I wonder how much of your quiet came from him. I wonder if he ever showed you the tenderness you tried to give us. It's strange how love travels across generations, sometimes diluted, sometimes distorted, but still trying to get through. You tried, Dad. I see that now. And I thank you. I remember one time, I was 12 years old, standing in front of the mirror in my Sunday dress, tugging at my sleeves, fighting back tears because I thought I looked awkward and silly. You came into the room, saw me, and just said, "You look like your mama, and she's the prettiest thing I ever saw." Then you walked away, as if you hadn't just given me the kind of gift that lasts a lifetime. I held on to that moment every time I doubted myself, every time I questioned if I was enough. You didn't give me grand speeches, but you gave me anchors. Now that I'm older, I understand more than I used to. I understand how much weight a man like you carried. The pressure to be strong, to be the provider, to keep your emotions locked away so your family wouldn't see the cracks. I understand now that your quiet wasn't distance. It was protection. You bore the burden so we wouldn't have to. I also understand the things I didn't get from you, and I've made peace with them. I understand that you didn't always know how to be emotionally available, that you sometimes said hurtful things when you were tired or overwhelmed, that you didn't always know how to say, "I'm sorry." But I also know this, you never stopped showing up, and that, Dad, speaks volumes. Since you've been gone, I've tried to live in a way that would make you proud. I became the kind of mother I think you hoped I'd be. Strong, steady, forgiving. I taught my children the same values you taught me, to work hard, to speak kindly, to never make fun of someone just because they're different. I find myself quoting you more than I realize. I hear myself saying things like, "The world doesn't owe you anything, and you can't control what people do, but you can control how you respond." Those were your mantras, Dad, and now they're mine. There have been moments when I needed you so badly it hurt. When I lost James, I sat in my room and cried for you. I wanted your arms around me, like when I was small. I wanted you to tell me I'd get through it. You weren't there, not physically, but in the quiet, in the way the sun hit the floor just right, in the rustle of the trees outside the window. I felt you. Still, somehow, showing up. And now, as I face the slow rhythm of older age, these aching joints, the quiet nights, the loss of friends, I find myself reaching for you again. I talk to you in the garden. I tell you about my day as I water the roses. I ask for you, your advice when I'm feeling uncertain. And sometimes, when I close my eyes, I can hear your voice, not loud, not clear, but real enough to remind me I was loved. On this Father's Day, I want you to know that your love mattered. Your life mattered. The way you carried your family, your sacrifices, your quiet strength, they did not go unnoticed. You shaped me, Dad. You made me who I am. And even though I don't get to sit beside you anymore, your presence is with me still, in my bones, in my memories, and in the way I love others. I miss you more than words can say, but I am grateful beyond measure for every moment we had. With all the love I never had the chance to say. Your daughter, Eleanor. Letter 2. To a late husband. My dearest Harold, it has been 9 years since I last heard your voice. 9 Father's Days have come and gone, and still, I set your coffee mug out every June like some part of me believes you might walk through the door, tired from trimming the hedges, asking, "What's for supper, hun?" I used to think the ache would soften. People said time would dull the edges of grief, that one day I would wake up and not feel like a limb was missing. But love, real love, does not fade. It simply changes its shape. And for me, it settled in the quiet moments. Your flannel shirt folded in the closet, your favorite armchair untouched, the smell of cedar still lingering on your tools in the garage. You were the kind of man people don't write novels about, not loud or flashy, but my goodness, you were steady, solid. You were the man who changed every oil, paid every bill on time, made sure every window was locked before bed. You were our shelter. You were mine. On this Father's Day, I want to say the things I didn't get to say in that hospital room. You were so tired, and I didn't want to make it harder by crying. But I should have cried, Harold. I should have held your face in my hands and told you what you meant to me over and over again. Because now, I say it only to the wind, to the pillow beside me, to the stars. You were the love of my life. I remember how proud you were to be a father. I can still see your face the day our son was born. You held him like he was made of light. "That's my boy," you whispered. And oh, how you adored being his dad. You taught him how to throw a baseball, change a tire, shake a hand with confidence. You taught him how to be a man without ever raising your voice. That is no small thing. I remember the year you built that treehouse in the backyard, how you spent every Saturday out there, measuring, hammering, climbing up and down that ladder in the summer heat. And when I asked why you were working so hard, you just smiled and said, "A boy needs a place to dream." That was you, Harold, always thinking about the people you loved, always building things, homes, memories, hope. Our children miss you deeply. They carry you in their voices, in the way they raise their own kids now. Our daughter says her son has your patience. Our son says his daughter has your kindness. And when they laugh, the big belly laughs that fill a room, I swear it sounds like you. Do you know what I miss the most? The small things. The way you'd hum when you were making toast. The way you'd kiss the back of my hand when you thought I was upset. The way you always had a quarter in your pocket for the grandkids, even if they didn't need one. You were never too tired to fix something, or listen, or hold me when I cried, even when I didn't want to explain why. Do you remember that time we got lost in the mountains on our anniversary trip? You just laughed and said, "Well, if we're lost together." I think about that a lot lately, about how, even when life was confusing or painful, I never felt alone. You were always there beside me, calm, grounded, warm. I was never afraid, not really, not with you near. Now, I walk this part of life without you, and some days it feels impossibly quiet. I find myself reaching across the bed in the middle of the night, forgetting for a moment that you're not there. But then I remember how much love we shared, how much life we lived in the years we were given. And that helps. I still wear your wedding ring on a chain around my neck. People ask why I haven't taken it off. I tell them I don't need to. Love doesn't end just because someone's gone. Your love still surrounds me. In the light through the kitchen window, in the smell of rain on our front porch, in the way our children call just to check in, the way you used to. You would be so proud of them, Harold, of who they've become, of how they carry your legacy. And you'd be proud of me too, I think, of how I've learned to keep living, to laugh again, even to dance sometimes when no one's looking, just like we used to in the kitchen. Some people spend their whole lives searching for the kind of love we had. We were lucky. We had it. We lived it. We built a life that still holds me, even in your absence. So on this Father's Day, I want you to know that you are still celebrated, still remembered, still needed, still loved. If I had just one more minute with you, I would whisper thank you. Thank you for every ordinary day that felt like magic. Thank you for being the safest place I've ever known. Thank you for choosing me. I miss you, my love. I will carry you always. Yours, Elaine. Letter 3. To an absent or distant father. Dear Dad, it's strange writing this letter. To be honest, I wasn't even sure how to begin. For so long, you've been more of a shadow than a person to me, an outline of someone I was supposed to know, but never really did. I've said Dad out loud so few times in my life that it almost feels like a foreign word. And yet, here I am saying it again. Writing it. Feeling it. For most of my childhood, I pretended you didn't matter. It was easier that way. Easier to build up walls around my heart than to feel the sting of your absence. I'd smile when other kids talked about their dads taking them fishing or helping with homework. I'd say things like, "My dad's not around," as casually as someone might say, "It's supposed to rain tomorrow." Like it didn't leave a mark, but it did. It always did. You were missing from every birthday party, every school play, every graduation. And even though Mom tried her best to be everything for me, there were still nights when I would lie awake and wonder why you weren't there, why you never wrote, why you never came back, why you didn't choose me. I told myself it was my fault, that maybe I wasn't lovable enough. Maybe I wasn't interesting or smart or pretty enough to keep your attention. Children don't understand abandonment. They internalize it. They wear it like a second skin. And I wore yours for years. I didn't just grieve your absence. I shaped myself around it. I grew up learning to take care of everything and everyone because somewhere deep inside, I believed I was the only one who would. I became responsible too young, independent too early, and strong before I ever had a chance to be soft. And yet, Dad, here's the hardest part to admit, I still wanted you. Even after all these years, even after the pain, even after I grew up and had my own family, there was always a quiet ache when Father's Day rolled around, always an empty seat in my heart. I remember one year, I must have been around 30, I watched a father dance with his daughter at her wedding, and I cried in the bathroom for 10 full minutes. Not because I envied her, but because I realized I had spent my whole life pretending I didn't miss what I never had. That's the funny thing about absence. It becomes a presence in itself. A ghost you carry with you into every room, every relationship, every moment where love is supposed to feel simple. But here's what I need to say now, and maybe more to myself than to you. I'm tired of carrying your shadow. I have spent so many years holding this quiet anger, this longing, this hole where a father should have been. I've replayed 100 imaginary conversations with you in my head. I've wondered what you would have said if you had ever cared enough to say anything. And I've tried to fill in the blanks you left behind. But I'm done filling in your story, because I've been writing my own. And you know what? It's a good one. I raised a family. A strong, loving, imperfect but beautiful family. I taught my children what love looks like, what consistency feels like. I never missed a birthday. I never made them question if they mattered. I never left. And I know, without a doubt, I broke the cycle. That empty space you left, I turned it into a foundation. I built something new on top of it. That doesn't mean I don't feel sadness. I do. Sometimes, late at night, I still wonder what it would have felt like to be held by you. To hear you say you were proud. To have a memory of your laugh. To know your favorite color. Your favorite song. The kind of man you were when you weren't running away from your responsibilities. I think that kind of longing doesn't ever fully go away. But I've stopped letting it define me. I'm not the daughter of a man who left. I'm the woman who stayed, who showed up, who gave love even when she didn't receive it first. And I've learned something important in these later years of life. Forgiveness is not about pretending it didn't hurt. It's not about excusing what you did or didn't do. It's about refusing to let your absence take up any more room in my soul. So I forgive you, not because you asked, not because you earned it, but because I deserve peace. I forgive you for the birthdays missed, The phone calls never made, the letters never written. I forgive you for the silence, for leaving a little girl to wonder if she was enough. Because I was. I am. I have nothing left to prove to you. And maybe that's what healing looks like. Not forgetting, but choosing not to be defined by what was broken. Choosing softness again. Choosing love again. Choosing to believe in presence, in showing up, in breaking generational patterns that go back farther than I'll ever know. I used to think I needed answers, that if I could just ask you why you didn't stay, why you didn't try, I would finally feel okay. But the truth is, I don't need your reasons anymore. I've made peace with the not knowing. I've made peace with the silence, and in doing so, I've made room for joy. So wherever you are, whether on this earth or long gone, I hope you found peace. I hope your journey took you somewhere better than where it started. I hope you know your absence didn't ruin me. It made me strong. But now, I no longer need that strength to protect myself from you. I've laid down the armor. I've softened. I've forgiven. And I'm finally free. Sincerely, Margaret. You know, I've sat here reading these letters over and over again, and each time, they move me in a different way. One letter speaks of a father who was present but quiet, whose love was carved into the routines of everyday life. Another tells the story of a husband whose absence still fills the room with memory. And then there's the voice of a daughter, like so many of us, who grew up with a hole where a father's love should have been. And somehow, she still found a way to forgive. They're different stories, but all of them carry the same ache and the same beauty. The ache of missing someone who mattered. The beauty of love that stays with us, even when the person is gone. I think, as we get older, we learn how to hold both. We learn how to carry grief and gratitude in the same heart. We learn that there's no expiration date on missing someone. That sometimes healing doesn't mean the pain disappears, it just means we've made peace with its presence. If you're listening to this and your chest feels heavy right now, please know you are not alone. There are so many of us walking through this life with stories we've never fully told. So many of us who wish we had said more, or heard more, or simply had one more day. Sometimes I wonder what our lives would look like if we allowed ourselves to speak these things out loud more often. If we stopped pretending we're fine just because the world keeps moving forward. If we said the hard things, the tender things, the loving things, before it's too late. Or even after. That's the gift of these letters. They remind us that it's never too late to speak from the heart, whether the person you're writing to is still here or long gone. The words still matter. The act of writing, remembering, honoring, it changes us. It makes space inside us for something softer, something freer. We are never too old to remember, never too old to feel, never too old to heal. And healing doesn't always look like sunshine. Sometimes it looks like tears falling quietly onto a page, or like sitting still, finally letting yourself feel what you've been carrying for decades. Sometimes healing starts with a single sentence. I miss you. So if something in these letters reminded you of your own story, of your father, your husband, a man you lost or never truly had, I want to invite you to do something with me. Take a breath, place your hand on your heart, and give yourself permission to feel. You've carried so much, and you've done it quietly, gracefully, the way women often do. But you don't have to carry it alone anymore. We're going to do something together in just a moment, something simple but powerful. We're going to write a letter, and don't worry, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to be shared. It just needs to be honest. Because your story matters, your voice matters, and the men who shaped your life, whether through love or loss, deserve to be remembered. If you've made it this far, I want to thank you for listening with your heart, for sitting with these stories, and perhaps for feeling a few things that you haven't let yourself feel in a long time. Now, I'd like to invite you to do something gentle, something simple, something just for you. Take a piece of paper, or open a fresh page in a journal, or even just sit quietly with your thoughts. And write a letter. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't need fancy words. It doesn't even have to be complete. But write a letter to the man who shaped your life. It could be your father. It could be your husband, a grandfather, a brother, or someone who left before they should have, or someone who never truly arrived. Say what you always wanted to say. Say thank you. Say I miss you. Say I forgive you. Say whatever your heart has been holding on to. Because there is something powerful, something sacred about putting love into words. Even if no one else ever reads it, the act of writing can be a kind of release, a kind of peace, a quiet way of saying, I was here. You mattered. This mattered. And if you feel moved to share your letter, we welcome you to leave it in the comments below. You never know who might need your story. You never know whose heart might be waiting to hear the words you've been brave enough to say. Or maybe you just want to fold it up and place it beside a photo. Or whisper it into the night sky. That's beautiful too. However you choose to honor him, do it your way. Do it with love. And remember this, dear friend, love doesn't end when a person leaves. It changes, it stretches, it softens and deepens and folds itself into who we become. On this Father's Day, let's not just remember the men we loved. Let's honor how they helped shape the women we are. You are strong. You are soft. You are still healing. And you are not alone. Thank you for spending this time with me. From my heart to yours, Happy Father's Day.